right, cool. Just seeing if you can hear me and see me okay. We are back for another Motivational Guitar Monday. So just say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're coming from if you're on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are. And we'll get started here. We'll wait for a few more people to come in. But basically what we're going to be doing today is we're just going to be going through some different ideas of a few Iron Maiden songs to help you with your power chords. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan, so I thought this would be kind of fun to do. Arno is here. Let's see here. Kelvin is here from Alberta, Canada. Worship Guitar Artistry or Dictionary is here. Ashok is here. Mike Rudolph is here. Hey, Mike. Nice to meet you, too. Mohammed is here. And Phil is here. Lefty is here. RC Pete is here from Belfast. That's awesome. Very good. Okay, we got all kinds of people here. This is great. Guy is here. John is here. Tony's here. Sean is here. Hey, bud. Chad is here. Ralph is here. Christopher from Savannah is here. Jeff is here. Very cool. Okay, so we got all kinds of people here today. So let's go ahead and get started with this week's assignment. Now, if you're not an Iron Maiden fan, you know, we'll do the best we can here, but every once in a while I'll be talking to somebody, maybe talking to somebody about guitar playing or just talking to a friend, and then something will pop in my mind and I'll go, hey, this would be really fun to do. And I always think back when I was a kid learning how to play and how important some of these bands were to developing my ear and my technique and all this kind of thing. And Iron Maiden is absolutely one of those bands. So I thought it'd be kind of fun just to show you a few riffs today. Now, before we get started, I want you to understand that if you play these, whether you already play them or you practice them after our video today, if you play them different than me, it's okay. If you use different fingers or you use different chord shapes or something like that, it's totally fine, okay? My job isn't to try and tell you exactly how you're supposed to play it. You know, Dave Murray might play it a certain way, and that's great. That doesn't mean I'm going to play it that way. I always think about trying to figure out how it's going to work best for you in your brain, in your fingers, and in the musical situation you find yourself in. Hey, Enrique, Ashish is here. Wayne is here. Jeff says, I used to cover Trooper in my old band. Yeah, they're just a really fun band. So what I wanted to do is try and find you some power chord style things that you might be able to look at to develop your playing a little bit. Now, it doesn't matter to me whether you learn the whole song, the solo, all the parts. I just wanted to show you some riffs. And as much as I'd like to use the actual riffs within this live session, I can't because I'll probably get, you know, shut down and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to use the songs, but you know, you can certainly look them up and we can talk about those some other time too. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start off as easy as possible. We're going to start off with some easier Iron Maiden stuff, and then we're going to move in a little bit more in terms of speed and complexity. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to look at Revelations, okay, off Peace of Mind, if you're familiar with this song, and it sounds like this. Then it goes into okay, so let's just talk about that for a little bit because there's a lot of things going on here. And again, I'm not going to break down every detail, but I'll show you some things I think about. So when you play, okay, like this thing here, the most important thing is being able to control the strings. As I play, for instance, let's take this part that's going from A to F to G. Well, I'll go back to the beginning in a second here too, but when I go, what I want you to notice is how I'm touching the strings to deaden those strings. And then it enables me to take my hand off. Okay, now you might just be going from A up here, for instance, and this is exactly what I was talking about before. Whether you play A as a power chord down here, which I call an open power chord, or you play A up here on the 6th string, 5th fret, right there, it's okay either way. Okay, so if you go, and then here, and then here, that's okay. Or if you want to play your A here, and then move. But there's a couple things I want to explain to you. Now, this is one way of keeping things quiet. Is I'm not palm muting, I'm actually deadening the strings. So when I play, I grab those strings and I touch them and I control the sound. See? And then what I do at the end of that, I'm going to go back to the note G with my middle finger, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of vibrato. Now again, if you don't know what vibrato is, this isn't our conversation today. I have lots of other videos that talk about vibrato and things, but I'm going to add a little vibrato to that. Now, if I was playing this on stage and I was really loud, so my guitar is very susceptible to feedback, one thing that I would do, that I would change, is I would probably use my volume control. And not everybody does this, but I really like to do this. Hey, Cody, glad you're here, bud. Now what you're going to notice is in between each chord change, I'm turning down my volume. See? And then when I want to play again, I turn it up. Which means that sometimes I'll start with an up strum just because I'm coming from the bottom of the guitar, turning my volume off, but not always. See? And that way I don't have to worry about feedback. Now, you don't have to do that, but I want to show you that. Okay, the beginning of this song, what I was doing was playing just the note G going to the A open power chord. And I'm giving that G just a little teeny bend, just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to the 3rd fret here on the 5th string, doing a pull off on the 2nd string 2 to 0. And then heading over to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And then I'm playing C to D. See how I'm touching? Okay, so part of the battle with learning how to play songs is getting your power chords in tune, making sure your guitar is in tune, making sure when you press down your fingers, you're not pressing too hard on a certain string so your guitar strings are going out of tune a little bit, so your chord sounds out of tune. You want to make sure everything's obviously in tune as best you can in terms of intonation and that sort of thing. Then the second thing is control, and this is a really important one that I was trying to explain to people, is when you're playing, you always want to think about controlling all the strings, the strings you are playing, but also the strings that you're not playing. So again, I know I've told you this many times, but when I play a power chord, like if I'm on the 6th string, my first finger is always deadening out all the other strings as I play. So I'm never leaving them exposed, because again, if I was playing on stage or something, or I was playing really loud for some reason, they're gonna wind up making noise. I'm gonna get unwanted noise in some capacity. So I want to make sure that I'm always deadening out everything that I don't want. So if you're looking for a relatively straightforward Iron Maiden tune to start learning to work with your power chords a little bit, Revelations is a really great one to do, which is what I'm doing right now. Okay, so I showed you the intro. If that was a little bit too hard for you, you could just play the power chords and skip the other thing like that, or you could play G to A like this, which I know when I was a kid, I used to play it that way. I used to play G to A as power chords. Okay, so either way is fine. So the next one we're going to move on to is a really fun one, which is really what got me thinking about this. Let's see if anybody can recognize it. So I'm going to play the riff, and you tell me if you know what this is. Iron Maiden here. Here we go. Okay, and then it goes into... And then it actually goes into... Okay? Yes, some of you got it. It is aces high. Okay? So this is a really fun one. Again, when I was a kid learning how to play this, it was really fun because it's moving a lot. Power chords are all over the place. Okay, so this is a really fun one, and let's take a look at what I'm doing here. So we're skipping the whole, all the intro stuff, but again, if you like Iron Maiden, you know, all that kind of stuff is definitely worth learning, okay? So, but let's go into this power chord part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go from the 7th fret. All my chords at this point in the beginning are going to be done on the 7th fret. So I'm just going to refer to the fret numbers and not the chords, just to make this a little easier for everybody. So I'm going to go 7, 9, 10, and then 12. So I'm going 7, 9, 10, 12, and then I'm going to come back down. So you're going to hear that da 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 da. That's what the rhythm's doing. So it's not even. Bum 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 bum. So that's what you got to get used to. Now, when you're playing your power chords, I play them one of 3 ways. Either I play my power chords with my 1st and 2nd finger, or excuse me, 1st and 3rd, I'm sorry, or my 1st, 3rd, and pinky, or sometimes I just play my power chord with my 1st and my pinky, and I don't even use these 2 fingers. There's no right or wrong to the way that you're playing that power chord, whatever works best for you. So when you watch me play these examples or anything that I do, oftentimes you'll see that I might be using certain fingers, and then the next time I play I use different fingers. It's because I'm really not paying attention, which is kind of at fault on my part, but I'm just going with what feels best when I'm playing. So if you watch me playing, don't think that you have to use those fingers. If you're using different fingers, it's okay, okay? So here we go. So I'm going, okay? And then when I get back to this 7, I'm gonna turn around and go to 10, 9, 7. So I'm going, sorry, 10, 9. So 10, 9 right there. So I'm going 7, 9, 10, 12, 9, or excuse me, 10, 9, 7, just all the way up, all the way back down. And then I'm gonna turn around and play 10, 9 and drop down to the 5. Drop down to the 5, and then up to the 9, and then back to the 5. And that's how the first part goes. And again, don't panic if you're having a hard time following along with it. You can watch this later. You can look up the tabs, whatever. Over at guitarzoom.com, I've got a play songs thing where I've got all kinds of songs in there. You can learn how to play different things like that as well. So anyway, we're going. Then I start all over. But it stops on the 5. So if I put that together a little bit faster, it's going to sound like this. And the trick there is obviously deciding, as I just talked about, how you want to play your power chords, whether you're using your 1st and 3rd finger or something like that. But the second thing is, this comes back to me when I used to play or teach right? That sort of thing. That there's really a couple of different ways that you move your chords. One way is you're sliding, right? You might be going, and you're sliding to a chord. And the other thing that you're doing is maybe you're not sliding. So what happens is when you move from one chord to the next, you have to make it sound seamless by the timing of your strum. You know, you don't want to go like slide in and then strum, unless, again, that's what the song's doing. So what you have to do is you have to be really careful that as soon as you move, your pick is playing at the same time. So this is a really great song to develop that technique. You see that? Now there might, you might hear a little bit of a slide motion, but you're trying to avoid that as much as possible, because when you get it up to speed, you don't have a lot of room for that. Okay? Then what happens is we take this entire thing and we just move it to a new key. Okay? So we're moving it down to the key of A. Okay? So I'm playing A. I was playing it down here, but I'll show you a couple of different positions. So I'm going to play the exact same thing, but I'm playing it now based off of A. Now, I could do that down here, right? So I'm doing the exact same pattern, but I'm playing off of the 5th fret of the 6th string, doing the same shapes. Okay, so that's the other part that happens in here. Okay, am I muting the low strings? If you mean low this way, I just mentioned this, Paul, maybe you weren't here, but I'm always deadening everything. So I'm not muting, I'm killing the strings, I'm deadening the strings that I don't want. So as I'm playing, for instance, this first part here starting at the 7th fret, I'm deadening the strings I don't want with this index finger down here. The 6th string is being deadened by the tip of my index finger. So as I'm playing, if I was to accidentally hit that 6th string, it's going to be deadened. Now, I'd get a weird harmonic, but if I'm playing, you're not really going to hear that. Where if I left it open and I left that 6th string exposed, it would sound terrible, you see? So again, I advise for anybody, the song is the vehicle that gets you from point A to point B, right? But always think about the technique of what it is that you're practicing more than how quickly can I get through this song and say, hey, I learned a song, and then get to the next song. Some songs are good for that. Like if it's something that's in your comfort range, that's a perfect thing to do. But oftentimes, if it's something that's, the point of the song or the riff or whatever is to give you a challenge in what is it that I can do to optimize my ability or my playing or the sound that's coming out of my guitar? What do I need to focus on? Do I need to focus on what fingers I'm using? Or again, am I, when I go to play this chord, am I accidentally bending a string a little bit or pressing too hard with one finger so that the chord's going out of tune, right? I have to be careful with that. And if you use, for instance, lighter strings on your guitar, you might experience that somewhat, is your guitar is always kind of out of tune, even if it's in tune, unless you're very careful with the way you're putting your fingers on those strings. So these are just things to think about. That's the whole point of doing this. It's not the song. I mean, the song is fine. Obviously, I love these songs, and I hope you enjoyed this too, but it's any song that you learn how to play. So as I'm doing this, again, going back to the beginning here and playing whatever fingers you want, it's that timing that you want to be thinking about. Right? And again, if you like all that kind of stuff, Iron Maiden is just a really fun band for all this picking kinds of things as well. Okay, so that's our second song. The third song we're going to get into here is, well, let me play it for you, see if you recognize it, okay? Here we go. Okay, so again, so much fun. I am lucky to have grown up listening to bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and stuff as a kid. So this one is a great one for developing palm muting, power chords, single note picking, okay, and of course speed, because you think back whenever this album came out, early 80s, 81, 82, whatever it was, and this was pretty darn fast for down picking. So, this might be a great development piece for you to try and develop your picking. So Number of the Beast is what this is, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the 2 chords, D power chord, 5th fret there, on the 5th string, and the C power chord, right there on the 5th string as well. So I'm just using those 2 chords. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach what we call the major third here on each one of those chords. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But basically what I need to do is, instead of just playing the power chord like this, like I normally would, I'm going to play 5, 4, 5. Like that. I'm going to add those notes on there. So in order to do that, I kind of need to use these 2 fingers. Now, I'm playing, again, you're going to want to look up the tab because I don't want to take way too much of your time here, but I'm playing 3 palm mutes of that, and then I'm moving to the 4, back to a palm mute here, 5, back to the palm mute. And then I got to get back to my chord. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll play it like this, where I just use my pinky out here and I stay there, and I know that's uncomfortable for some people and it's okay, but sometimes I'll do that. Otherwise, what you need to do is just flip over. And again, you'll see that oftentimes when I play this, I'll go to my first finger and my pinky, because my pinky's sitting there. So I just drop it down. It just feels more natural. But it would be okay to go back to this, or you could just stay on here. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to move down to the C and do exactly the same thing. And then it goes back again. So this is a really great one if you want to learn to develop some picking, some palm muting, okay, and speed. You know what I was telling, fun day, no, this is not pre-recorded. This is me here on a Monday. So anyway, if that makes sense, what I used to do, and the beauty of like Spotify and Apple Music and all this stuff is you can make a playlist of all these songs that you like, and then practice these things. You know, again, maybe you're not learning the whole song. You know, I always tell people my nightmare of trying to learn to play. Right, Master Puppets. When I was a kid, there was no way I could play that fast enough because I didn't have the ability, the down-picking ability. So I used to alternate. Yeah, this is live, Don. Here, let me put that up there so everybody can see this. Whoop. Ah, there he is. So Don says, is this live? This is live. Yes, we are live, and here we are. So what do we got here? Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. So anyway, if that makes sense, I used to practice these things over and over and over, trying to get faster at this stuff. So, you know, if I take Master of Puppets, which is off topic, but if I take that and I practice, and I just practice that over and over and over, again, dialing in my power chord, dialing in the palm muting, dialing in the control of the noise, which is really important, right? Not just how fast can I play it, but is it clean? Is it articulate? Because if it's fast but it's sloppy, it's just going to sound sloppy. And so that's why you want to learn to control everything. And even though you might be able to play it a lot faster, sometimes it's nice to play a little bit slower just so you can develop all of the elements to make it sound really tight. Because that's part of learning how to play, especially in my line of work with playing a lot of rock or metal stuff, is you want it to sound tight. It's not just how fast can you play, but can you make it sound tight? So when I'm playing, I'll go back into my Iron Maiden mode here. See that? Now again, as I work it and keep practicing this, I'm going to keep trying to develop that speed and as well as the technique. And that's kind of the fun too, is all the transitions as you're moving at that faster speed, trying to keep all that stuff clean. So that's another thing for you. The last one I'll give you here, and then I'll let you go because I don't want to take all day here of your time, but the last one is going to be 2 minutes to midnight. And the reason I'm showing you this is because a really popular thing back in the 70s and certainly in the 80s was using what we call chord fragments, which is really not the entire shape of a chord, but just a few notes of a chord. So what song is this by Iron Maiden? That one was Number of the Beast. So I've done Revelations by Iron Maiden, a segment of that. Aces High by Iron Maiden, and then Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do 2 minutes to midnight. Now, 2 minutes to midnight's a really good one for developing fragments. So if you think of like Motley Crue, right? Right, that sort of thing, where what I'm doing is I'm going to take just a couple of notes here and play those, you know, whatever it would be. So let me show you 2 minutes to midnight. So here what I'm going to do is go like this. I'm going to use the 5th fret of the 3rd and 4th strings and the 7th fret of the 3rd and 4th strings as well. Okay, so those two right there. And I'm going to move back and forth using the 5th string as my palm muting. So what you're going to notice is I'm separating, I'm playing the 5th string, and I'm going to palm mute it twice, on the 5th string, and then I'm going to move down. I'm going to play the 3rd and 4th strings with my 1st finger, and I'm going to go back and do 2 palm mutes again. So I'm moving down, and then back, and then I'm going to move to the 7th fret. And what I want you to notice is I'm using my 3rd and my pinky. Okay? Now, some people would just use their 3rd finger, and that's okay too, but I like to use my 3rd and pinky because I like to do a really wide vibrato. So I do that at the end of it, and it's hard to do for me if I use my 3rd finger. You might rock at it, but I do not, okay? Jeff says, live wire is hard to do all down picking. Yeah, that's the fun of these songs, is developing all that kind of stuff. Right? All that kind of thing. So, again, I digress. Bright light, I go all over the place. So here we go. Back to 2 minutes to midnight. So you'll notice at the end of that, I hit this one twice. So I have... And then what I'm going to do is go back. And this time what I'm going to do is at the end of this, I'm just going to move down to A. So I have... See? And then it keeps speeding it up. And if you get really comfortable with it, you can add in the little on the 5th string, so you have... So again, what I want to reiterate, which is very, very important, is that in your practice, in your daily practice routine, you're trying to develop elements, whether they're chords or scales or picking or legato or God knows what it is, whatever it is that you're trying to develop. And you're either doing those one of two ways. Either you're doing those through exercises, or you're doing those through songs, which are exercises too, but they're structured. And I've always tried to encourage people to use songs because they're fun. Now, fun is a subjective word, and here's what I need you to understand is that you have to learn where you are in your journey when you pick songs to try and play. Because if you're always picking songs that are, further up than you are currently in your journey, you're always going to be frustrated. Like you're always like, God, I suck. I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, bring those songs down. Find the right songs. If you like Iron Maiden, you don't have to play X, Y, or Z. You can play, whatever other song. There's other things that you can do. And here's the important point I want to make, is that you don't have to learn the whole song. Like, maybe you just learn a riff from it and you practice that riff. Like, going back to Metallica with Master of Puppets. When I was learning how to play Master of Puppets, it didn't matter that I didn't learn the rest of the song because I couldn't play it anyway. So I just sat and practiced that first part over and over and over and over, trying to develop it before I ever worried about the rest of the song. Because it didn't really do me any good to try and learn all the rest of it. Now, everybody's different. I'm not telling you how to live your life and how to practice. I'm just giving you some ideas. I remember sitting with another song that I sat with a lot was Whiplash. And I played it wrong by Metallica. Again, these are all songs that I just always loved to play when I was a kid. But I remember finally dialing in that... like when I finally learned to get that, because there was a long time when I couldn't do that, okay? Cody says, you're going to be at NAMM? I am not. I have a bunch of stuff going on this weekend, and unfortunately I will not be at NAMM. But Cody, I'm hoping that you're going to be at Winter NAMM, because I'll definitely be back at Winter NAMM. I got a bunch of stuff going on there. So hopefully, Cody, I'll see you then. So if that makes sense, that's how you stay motivated to play, as you find these songs. And again, with Whiplash, which is what I was talking about, I couldn't play it. And then I could, right? I couldn't play it, and then we kept practicing, and all of a sudden... and I could feel, like, you can't see it right now, but my foot is moving. All of a sudden I was lining up and these things were working, and I always think about how that, and how incredible it felt to me as a kid, but I still feel it today as an adult, but how incredible it felt that I was playing something that I was so attached to, in terms of my life and the music I loved and what I wanted to do with my life and all those different kinds of things. And so songs weren't just songs. Like, it was a really big deal for me to make that connection. And so that's what I want you to think about a little bit when you're practicing is maybe it's a song where you're only going to learn a little bit of it, but you're really going to try and dial that in. And then maybe you're learning some other songs where you're going to learn more of the tune. Because I guarantee you, if right now you go and try and play Revelations by Iron Maiden, and you're not very successful, 3 months from now, you're probably going to be incredibly successful with it, right? Or maybe you're already at a stage where you play that song and you go, wow, that feels really good. And you're already there, so then you try another one. But I'm going to end with this. I want you to keep reminding yourself every once in a while to look behind your shoulder there and go, wow, I was able to do that. Because there was a time in your life where you would have been massively impressed with yourself because you're able to do this. And then you get to a point in your life where you're not impressed with anything anymore, and you're like, wow, I can't do this, I suck, I can't do anything. Where every once in a while, if you just take a look back, you go, wow, I have learned a lot of stuff, right? I'm going to keep going. So that's how you kind of keep doing this thing. So anyway, everybody take care, stay positive, keep practicing. Do me a favor, head over to guitarzoom.com and check out the guitar courses I have, the membership that I've got. If you find anything you like, it always benefits me and keeps me doing what I do for a living. So everybody take care, stay positive, and I will see you next Monday, okay? Bye.